Boyfriend's peeing in the background. Let's all listen to him.
You, Shorzy! Fuck you, Shorzy!
Guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I thought I would continue the houseplant tour from a while back that I did for the sunroom, and today I will be doing the kitchen and the bathroom. And the kitchen's going to be located on the west side of the house, but it's not too hot and intense here, so I can kind of get away with both some succulents and some more leafy things as well. And then the bathroom is also going to be on the south side, which is going to be the same as the sunroom, but it's nowhere near as intense. There's some film over the windows, so it doesn't get nearly as hot or as bright. So yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, so starting off here with my little odd flat macrame hanger and a little Brazil Epiphyllum or Pothos in here. And I started this guy a while ago as a cutting. Hasn't been a super fast grower, but I don't need it to be. It's fine. Ooh, it's dry. But eventually I'm probably going to move this into either a corner in the living room or our bedroom. Both of those spots, and especially the bedroom, is quite dark, and Epiphyllum do great in lower light conditions. Although I feel like the variegation is going to be better with the more sunny side. And then here is my, see, sort of intertwining, the Satin Pothos or Scindapsus. And this guy keeps climbing everywhere. Pay no attention to that dusty cat hair encrusted light up there. Just don't pay attention to it. But look at that Satin Pothos. Just, it's everywhere. And let's see if I can get that right there is the pot from which it all originates. And I'm definitely going to have to repot it soon because it's been shedding a bunch of leaves, turning yellow on some of them. So it's kind of a sign it needs to be repotted, but I'm just not looking forward to it at all. Next door to it is the silver nickel Nikia. Look at the cool sawtooth on that. Really cool. That's a newer purchase. I got it this spring from a local nursery. Seems to be doing pretty good. I water it maybe once a week. Pretty low maintenance, low water plant. Next is the variegated string of pearls, and I've been having issues getting this guy to grow very well. And I'm thinking that he needs a little bit more water, more consistent moisture than I have been giving him. And terracotta pots are great at wicking away excess moisture, but I think in this case I might need to move to a plastic or glazed ceramic just to help keep the water retention up. You can see some of the little pearls have withered away there, so I think that was a sign that it got too dry at one point. I did have it in the sunroom, but it was just way too blazing hot in there and almost impossible to keep it watered well enough, so I moved it in here. It's a bit easier. Then I think I'll just get them down. This is my black form of aeonium, and I'm not sure if this is a Zworktop or some other black form of aeonium, and normally I'm not a huge fan of aeoniums, but like this guy a lot. The dark coloration's pretty awesome. I like this little pot boyfriend made too. They go well together. Then next to him will be the Echinopsis. Some people might call it an Easter cactus, I think. They have really big, large white blossoms on them that smell incredible. He is kind of leggy. I don't know how normal that is, or if he'd prefer a spot in the sunroom, which I just don't have right now. And then next door, that pot right there is Epiphyllum. Those are cuttings that I recently rooted. My coworker Karen, hi Karen, gave me those, and that form has beautiful reddish watermelon colored flowers. So eventually I might get to see those bloom, but oftentimes the orchid cacti don't bloom until they're quite large and mature. So, and that white pot this is one of my favorite plant pot combinations. Just those white spines and that little creamy white pot. And that's a Tephoro cactus. I think it's articulatus, also called paper spine. Get it down because it's one of my favorites. Can see. Ouch. They are pretty soft and papery if you approach them from the side, but from straight on they are very pokey. I believe this used to be an Opuntia, but was rearranged in the botanical order and put as a Tephoro cactus. And then the Jatropha podagrica that I showed you guys in my Codex video. And the problem's being short. I'm not even gonna try. I'm too short for this. You can see that Muhlenbeckia variegated variety in the corner there. And a lot of people grow that just as an annual in containers. Some grow it as a houseplant, which I'm attempting. It does dry out quite a bit, so I'm gonna have to water him. I see some yellowing leaves, and you can probably see some dried leaves in the center. He needs pretty constant moisture, at least for me in this window. Might move him to somewhere it gets a little less light, and hopefully he won't dry out as much. Then down here, we've got the stilt peperomia. Kind of a common one, but very easy, exceptionally low maintenance, and very low water too once it's established. Then this guy is a Crassula, and it was marketed as a pagoda Crassula, but I'm not sure it's quite what species it is. I'll probably have to do some research and see if I can find it. This guy was he's still pretty floppy, but he was exceptionally so when I first got him, so I sort of shimmed up some of the stems with this gritty cacti mix. Now that he is older, he's a bit more sturdy, and he's grown a bunch of side shoots to try and level himself. That's a cool thing about plants, is if they are kind of leaning to one direction and very floppy, sometimes what they'll do is send out a bunch of side shoots in the opposite direction just to try and help right themselves. Then this guy I started as a cutting a year or so ago, probably over that. It's related to an epiphyllum, but it's actually a Discocactus macranthus, the yellow orchid cactus, and it has smaller, not quite as big as the epiphyllum blooms, but still quite lovely golden blossoms. And this is a hernia here. I forget the species, so I'll have to add it on screen later when I remember. I don't know how to get a picture. And that's what the little flowers look like. It's not quite as interesting of a flower as the Hernia Sabrina I showed you in my last video, but this plant is super easy, and I would say this is probably easier to grow than the Sabrina. You can see the long, shiny, and yet still little spikes on it. And I did recently have to take him out into the backyard and spray him because he got infested with mealies. And I lost a tail in the process, but hardening him off, and I will let him callus and plant him back up. Next door here I have the Ceropegia ampliata. And I got this from Etsy, same seller that sold me my Ceropegia sandersonii. And this guy's gotten a lot more growth on it than the sandersonii. He is a little bit more prone to mealy bugs, it seems like. But then again, I have quite a few plants in this area here that are mealy magnets. And then I think they call this the Pickle Plant. This is a Senecio and Staphyliformis, maybe? I don't know, I'll put it up on screen too, the name. And my little Grecian head planter. And I'm not a huge fan of Senecios in general, but I like this one. And it hasn't grown exceptionally fast or outgrown its pot, but eventually I'm gonna have to put it in something new because it's put off a lot of side shoots, and I don't know if they're strong enough to break that pot at some point or not. They have an amethyst candle holder and a new buddy. This is the variegated bear paw. You can't really see the variegation right now, but I have a feeling once he's a little bit more mature, he has some nice sunlight, he'll show his streaky white variegation a little bit more clearly. Then in the back there is my budding Pinwicula, or butterwort. This is one of the easier carnivorous plants to grow in your house. I just grow mine on my windowsill right here. I've been doing it quite a while. It catches some of the fruit flies, little gnats, and the foliage is sticky, and the gnats stick to that, and then they absorb them and keep it in a little shallow dish of water. And I do let that dish of water dry out quite frequently. I think that they tend to fare a little bit better if you let them dry out and don't have them just in constant standing moisture. And at my work, we have them growing in old lizard cages, so terrarium style, just in some very peaty potting soil. It does quite well. And this is my Scylla, or is it now renamed? I think it is. I'll research that and put it up on the screen as well. And they call this the spotted squill. And this thing grows like a weed. It has pretty unremarkable flowers, but the foliage is pretty cool. That's where it's at. Silver with greenish spotting. Like I said, it grows like a weed. It's kind of cool, but once it gets this big, it tends to look a bit ratty. So I'm thinking I'll probably repot him pretty soon, divide him up, give away some babies maybe. And this is kind of my little propagation station here. Got some baby Pilea peperomoides. We've got the Hindu rope. Got some more Monstera siltempecanas rooting in here. And back there is some nicely rooted Philodendron micans with some really nice new growth. And I love just that foliage, that velvety foliage. And then the Piper Nigrum that I got from Eldon Tropicals is doing quite nicely here. And I did have him in the bathroom originally, but I'm running out of room in there. So he's here now. Doesn't seem to mind it too much. Then this is my prayer plant, and you can see it's closed up a fair amount. Usually the leaves are splayed a bit more, but this has a quite tightly packed leaf form at night. And this is the Calathea rufibarba. And it's not quite as showy as other Calathea, but I think it has a nice texture and cool form to it. You can see the red undersides to the leaves. The leaves themselves are very furry. I'm sure you can hear that. Like fur. And I've had it in the kitchen here, which isn't particularly humid. It's had it maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, and it doesn't seem to mind the lack of humidity at all. So this might be a bit easier than most other calatheas to grow. Then, sorry, moving my coffee pot out of the way. This is my Alocasia poly. It's so cool. I always was worried that alocasias would be difficult to grow, but this one is quite easy. Just make sure to keep it fairly moist. And again, there's not much humidity in the kitchen, and it seems fine. I have a theory that the thicker, more cardboardy alocasias are easier to grow than some of the thinner leafed forms. You can see here, I think the poor guy got steamed a bit by my coffee pot. Poor buddy. But he's got some new growth happening. He should be okay. Then back here is my Aglaonema, and I think this is Siam Queen. I got this for boyfriend. I thought he might enjoy the color and the weird patterning, and he really loved it. I know him so well. This is going to be my little baby Ficus Elastica leaf cutting, which they root quite well. I'm not entirely sure of what cultivar it is. I want to say it's probably ruby, but not sure. And yeah, this is my kitchen windowsill. And I have to keep rather small baby plants in here just because the windowsill is so shallow. But I don't mind. I think a lot of succulents are slow enough growing that they can live here quite a long time before I have to move them or divide them. Now to the bathroom. Okay guys, so this is the bathroom. Try and get a shot there for you. And one cool thing about the bathroom is it's incredibly humid in here. It does have this one window, so this corner is fairly bright. And if you guys have a bathroom in your house that has some fairly good lighting, consider growing your humid loving plants in here because they seem to fare quite nicely. And oftentimes what I'll do is when I get a new plant, especially a plant that's recently come out of a greenhouse, it's not really acclimated to the generally drier conditions of indoors. So I'll bring it in here and let it kind of get acclimated, rest up, especially if it's made the trip in the mail, and sort of harden it off a bit to life indoors. And for that reason, things are always being rotated in and out of here. There are a few plants that will probably never leave here just because they need so much constant humidity. Unless, of course, I get a humidifier and put it somewhere. This guy here is my most amazing Cissus Discolor or Rex Begonia vine. Got this for like 10 or 12 bucks at the SEC greenhouse. Amazing score. You can see just how much it's been vining. It goes up and over the lights, and it did get kind of toasted by the light bulb there, so I need to take that down soon. But cool silvery foliage. And then the undersides of the leaves are this bright red. One thing against this plant is it tends to need constant moisture. Otherwise, it tends to abort some of the newer vines. It is in a rather small pot, so I probably should eventually repot it. Pretty cool plant. And I do apologize for the lighting, but it's even worse, it seems, during the daytime. This is my Hoya publicalyx. This is a very silver splashy form. Easy peasy. Should have probably put it outside. Hoyas love being outside for the summer. And then I forget your name. It's tired. I worked kind of not at all hard today, but yeah, had to go to work. Then this is my Euphorbia lactea, little ghosty guy. Then I moved my Philodendron Squamous in here recently from the living room. He seems quite happy. Maybe I'll do a philodendron update video soon. But yeah, He's liking it in here. Then, forgetting your name again. I'm so sorry, buddy. Masdevallia. So this is a Masdevallia, which is an orchid. My friend Aaron gave it to me, and this is pretty much the only orchid I haven't killed. He did have a little bout with scale, but I treated him. Seems okay. Yeah, hasn't bloomed in quite a while, but the flowers are quite cute, sort of orangish red. Then over here is my rabbit foot fern. I think it's Divalia. And it does have some dead foliage, but it seems pretty typical of it to some of the older growth to die off and new growth to appear not long after. But it needs pretty constant moisture, watering it a couple times a week generally. It's another great thing about plants in the bathroom is you see them pretty much daily, so it's not difficult to remember about these guys. You can see the little rabbit foot bits there. Make sure if you guys have one of these to put in a pot you really just don't care much about, because with age, if you let it stay in that pot, the little feet will overtake the entire thing. I've seen it at Manitou, the local greenhouse public garden. Their plant in the conservatory is just overtaken the hanging basket it's in. Pretty crazy. And then this is my Dioscorea discolor, or yam. It's got a little bit of brown tip there. I don't know why. That's sad. I'm sorry. But I recently staked him probably like 2 days ago. And you can see just all the vining that's happened since I staked it. Then this is my Grigori Hembali Medanilla. It's doing pretty good in here. Hasn't grown any, but hasn't seemed to suffer too much. Then some jewel orchids. I take it back. I have been growing these kind of okay. Little jewel orchids. I'm trying not to fuss over them too much. So this is my Calathea Sabrina. This guy is terribly difficult to grow, as you can see from all the typical Calathea tip burning, but very interesting foliage to him. I do have a water spike in him. I don't know that I like water spikes all that much, but it does help keep it a little bit moister for me, because there are times when I just forget to water him. So it does help a bit, keep the moisture levels up. Then over here, I have my poor Alocasia Latherbacchiana in this jar. And I'm not sure he's going to make it, guys. Got this from Eldon Tropicals in the mail not too long ago. And he lost a leaf a couple days after I got him, and now he's losing another. I'm worried for him. I hope he'll do well, but I'm not quite confident. And then my Anthurium veitchii is doing all right. It's got a tiny little bit of new growth right there. So I'm doing something right. My other Cissus albonidens I got from Glasshouse Works, as well as the Splash Gordon and the beautiful Jose Bueno philodendrons. And like I said, the bathroom's amazing for growing things that need humidity, or even if you're just trying to acclimate them from wherever you bought them, had them in the greenhouse, or it's more of a tropical climate and you're trying to get them used to indoor environments. This is a good way to do it. And then I'm going to swing you around. It's a toilet in which we poop. And then that sad specimen is an Asplenium crispy wave. I love ferns, but have had so success with them indoors. Outdoors, they're fine, but I just can't seem to either have enough humidity or keep them moist enough indoors. So that's what that sad specimen is. And just a quick show and tell. Got the Lucky Bamboo over here. Just giving that as a gift. Add some nice height there. The tricolor Stromanthe. I think this is a Parthenosis, same as a Virginia creeper. Can't remember the species. I think they call this like a sweet vine or sugar vine or something like that. It hasn't done very much, but he's trying. Can't fault him for trying. Then this is my Phlebodium aureum, or blue star fern. You can see the cool feet seeds in there. Again, he dried out, which is what all those brown tips are, but honestly, one of the probably easier ones to grow indoors, just as long as you keep it moist enough. So yeah, that kind of concludes the kitchen and bathroom tour. Hope you guys enjoyed, and please subscribe if you did. Stay tuned. I will probably in a couple weeks be doing the living room houseplant tour.